All right, so our next speaker is Mrs. Samantha Downie. With pleasure, I'd like to introduce you to her. She's a senior orthopedic trainee in Scotland. She's also actively involved in research, and she's the chief investigator for multiple studies, including currently the GOAST study, GOAST. It stands for Studying the Effect of Gender on Operative Autonomy in Surgical Training. She's undertaking a PhD and has published a lot in the BMJ, the Lancet, and the BJJ. Also a past chair of the East of Scotland Research and Ethics Committee, and an editor for the UK exam. So please, Samantha, the stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'd really like to thank the organisers for inviting me to talk at this really excellent meeting amongst some really illustrious company. I'll try and match up if I can. My name's Sam Downie. I'm an ST6 orthopaedic trainee in Dundee in Scotland, which is here. I'm going to be talking about equality of training, including a little bit about taking time out of training and the GOAST study, which Anne has already mentioned. My talk is largely targeted at trainees considering orthopaedics as a specialty, so forgive me if it's a little bit below some of your levels. So I want to cover a few things that you might be wondering about orthopaedic specialty training in the UK. So once you get that elusive training number, what can you then expect from your 6 years of orthopaedic training, or 8 if you're in Scotland? Will you be treated fairly? Will your training be equal regardless of your background or gender? We hope so. What can you take time out for, and how does your training balance with everything else that's going on with your life? I'm going to start with just a very brief background about my own training history. I did medical school and foundation training in Edinburgh, and then went to Dundee in 2014 in Scotland for my orthopaedic trainee. I did my MRCS exam in the middle of ST1, and I started a PhD part-time during my sort of early orthopaedic training. I took a year out for this full-time after ST5. I then had a few months out for this little guy, and then returned to ST6 in November 2020. I've currently got around 2 years left in my training, and will do my FRCS exit exams next year. So let's first talk about time out of training. You can take time out of programme for many reasons, commonly to gain additional clinical experience or undertake research. Many people choose to have a family during their specialty training, and it's worth noting that UK trainees can share up to 50 weeks of shared leave between couples, which might help you in planning to complete training and have a family. When there are up and downsides to when you take time out of training. For surgical training, obviously gaining your technical skills is a key consideration, and if you take time out early, you may delay gaining these skills. However, if you go late, you may become rusty. How long you take out of programme has a bearing on this too, but I've known trainees to make a success out of both options, so I'd suggest that you do what's right for you. Training in Scotland is, so I'm just going to minimise this, is specialty from the beginning. So I had the benefit of ST1 and ST2 in pure orthopaedics. This meant that I was relatively senior when I went out of programme after ST5 for my research. Taking only 12 months to pursue PhD research has meant a lot of part-time work during surgical training, which I'm sure you're all getting as the essence of any sort of surgical training, is giving up a lot of your free time to meet the goals that you want to meet. But hopefully it meant that my operative skills weren't as rusty when I came back as if I had taken 3 years out for my PhD. Next, what can you expect from your orthopaedic training? So this study published last year in JAMA Surgery suggested that in general surgery, females have logged fewer cases by the end of their training. And this, these numbers to the left just show that females are in red, males are in blue. This equates to 82% of the cases that a male trainee has, which sounds like a massive difference. However, it is worth noting that this didn't include cases where the trainer was scrubbed in, and it might be that female trainees have similar numbers of cases, but are more likely to have their trainer present in theatre rather than sitting in their office. Unfortunately, this paper can't answer whether that is the case. We want to know if these results are the same in the UK orthopaedic training. And we also wanted to go a little further and look in detail at some of the differences between male and female trainees in terms of operating. So we started the GOAST study, which stands for Effective Gender and Operative Autonomy in Surgical Training. First, we did a pilot of all the trainees in our deanery. We found that looking at cases where the consultant isn't present in theatre, as in the previous study, there is a little difference between male and female trainees around ST6. This tends to balance out by the end of training, however. When you include supervised cases, there is no difference between the genders. Finally, look at what you can expect from your training, at least in our deanery. This graph shows the percentage of operating by trainee grade from ST1 to ST8. By ST3, you're the operative surgeon on almost 2/3 of all cases you're involved in. This peaks at over 85% from ST6 onwards. Really fantastic numbers, a real reflection of the quality of training in our deanery, and hopefully what we'll see in the rest of the training deaneries across the UK.
Sorry, Samantha. I'm just want to mention if someone's got their their speaker on, could they please mute it because we can hear some background noise. Thank you. Sorry, Samantha.
I might think it was my street, but I can just hear the birds outside at the moment, so hopefully. Okay. So now we're recruiting trainees across the UK to nationalise this study. We complete recruitment in a month, and we will be the first collaborative to attempt to recruit every UK trainee and recently qualified consultant as a collaborative author on our resultant paper. Our aim is to identify the whole picture of orthopaedic training by gender within the UK, and you can visit our website if you want to learn more. Finally, I just wanted to finish by answering a few questions that I get asked a lot at careers fairs. Some of this has been touched upon already, but I think it's always worthwhile to just reiterate because it's so important. Orthopaedics is a physical specialty with long and arduous training, as we all know and have heard, and people are often concerned at whether at the end of their training they'll be able to do the job or not. So, do you need to be tall or physically strong for orthopaedics? The answer from all of our previous very illustrious speakers has been a resounding no. What you need is good technique and occasionally power tools. If someone tells you that women can only do hand or foot and ankle surgery because it's less physically challenging, they're talking rubbish. End of story. However, as some of our local trainees have shown, weightlifting doesn't hurt. You do need to be relatively dexterous for surgery for obvious reasons. However, I know surgeons who've had all sorts of surgery on their hands, including tendon transfers, joint fusions, and removal of carpal bones for arthritis. They are all excellent surgeons. Can you become a surgeon if you're disabled? I've been asked this by several people, and my answer has always been the same. Whether you can operate with a disability is obviously a very individual consideration. However, like all of medicine, orthopaedics has a wide variety of specialties, all of which require different levels of physical ability. Whatever additional help you may need, there is an orthopaedic job for you. Finally, the only thing that you definitely need is drive and love for surgery. If you'd be happy doing something easier, do something easier. If you really want to be a surgeon, there's no better job in the world. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Samantha. Yeah, I can vouch for that last statement. You don't need to be tall. I'm 5'1" and I can still do the hips. So